So one thing the audience might not know, I feel like every time we catch up, there's always something we learn about our past that, I was born in Roseburg, Oregon. You worked out of Roseburg, Oregon for a long time. I live in Seattle now. You used to live in Seattle.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think we lived in the same county in New Jersey. So I'm like following you, man, like all over the place. I'm just like retracing your journey, dude.
Okay, so what you're saying is I'm older than you. That's what you're saying. That's what you're really admitting. Okay, yeah, yeah, it's good. It's so good. Yeah, man, it's spooky.
Oh,
Spooky.
yeah.
But,
Well, it's good to catch up with you as always. I wanted because we've talked about a lot of different stuff on the podcast. I think this is maybe your third or fourth time on here. I wanted to dig into leadership because the more that we work with clients over the years, the more I realize, and I think that sales leaders are starting to come around to this too. You can only do so much at the rep level. You can only do so much. You can only do so much with a new tool. You can only do so much with a once or twice a week 1 hour training session. It's the stuff that happens outside of the training and after the training around the practice that's facilitated, the feedback that is given, etc. So I wanted to talk about the leadership piece, but I wanted to get your take on why don't companies focus more on developing their frontline leaders? Why are they so focused on developing the reps?
because they feel that, oh, wait a minute, I could take that money and put 2 more reps on phones or 3 more reps on phones, and I could
Yeah.
get that many more phone calls. I go, hey, come on, guys. We've got to come back and really develop that frontline manager because there is so much upside because sales is emotional. You talk about this a
Yeah.
lot. You and I both know it is an emotional experience. We can take two
Mm.
people, have them calling virtually the same list. One's going to achieve results and one isn't. Why is that?
Yep.
Because one is going into it with the right attitude, with the right mindset. And it's amazing at how that changes the tone, the way you listen, the questions you ask, and just ultimately the results you get.
Yeah. And who you work for is such a big. I was just talking with a sales leader earlier today, and we were kind of talking about how his VP has moved on. So he's a frontline leader. His VP has just moved on, and it's someone that we've done a lot of work with in the past. And he was talking about how it's such an emotionally draining job to be in sales. Like it's really rewarding and it's awesome, but it's like it's a pretty tough job, and how much of a difference it made that he had an awesome VP that he
Oh,
worked
you
with.
really do. I go back and I go, there was a sales manager I had, and I still think of him often, John Canavan. In fact, I talk about him in one of my books. The gentleman I mean, he had a way of taking my talent and skill sets to the next level, which is interesting because
Yep.
my boss before him had been a village jerk. I mean, an idiot.
Yeah.
And I did everything possible to do as little as possible. And yet here I was, the
Yeah.
exact same person, now working for a different manager. And I'm not a manager, a leader. This gentleman
Mhm.
was a leader because he took the time to understand me. He motivated me, and you motivate each person individually. But he had the ability to draw incredible results out of me because
Yeah.
I felt he had a sense of commitment to help me. So I felt a real sense of commitment to deliver the results to him.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of those pieces. We Before we hit record, I think we can kind of think about the conversation today to maybe in two buckets. There's this like setting the tone around the culture that you talked about. And then there's like how do we actually deliver, good sales coaching? For the culture piece, I think one of the first things that I want to talk about is around what you mentioned, connecting with the rep. It's such an overlooked thing where like one thing I pay really close attention to the people on our team is like I want to know what motivates these people. Like why are they doing this? What motivates them? What type of reinforcement do they need? Like some people on our team, they need to feel like they're contributing and that I take what they say seriously, and they want to know that like what they do is impactful to Outbound Squad. Another one person I'm thinking of like really wants to be pushed. Like they love getting coaching. They really want to be like you need to know all these little nuances about your folks. What advice would you have for a manager to like just get to know the people that work for them on a more personal level, like you shared?
Yeah, boy, I tell you what, if we got 3 hours for this recording, because here's a couple things.
Yeah.
First of all, nobody can motivate anybody. All you can do is set an environment for people to motivate themselves. So, like you described, two people, one that wants to be pushed. So you have to set an environment where they feel like they're being pushed. Okay. Now you are pushing them, definitely. Another person is, and this is the whole thing. As a leader, you've got to understand what excites your people. And this is one of the things that I have found the number one sales manager I ever had a chance to work for, a gentleman by the name of John Canavan. I mean, he was phenomenal because he understood me personally. Now, in order to do that, he had to reveal a little bit about himself. Now, this isn't like get HR called and let's reveal everything. No, it's just that, but
Yeah.
I could understand where he's coming from emotionally. I could understand, he could understand me. And it was amazing because he knew when I was upset, when I was struggling, because he could just read it in my body language. And I could too at him. Now, how did we get to that point? We got to that point because we spent time one-on-one, not on the floor, not, carpooling a sales call. It was one-on-one in conversations, pre going into a sales call, post going. One of the best things that a leader can do, and this is what so rarely happens, coach the person before the call. It is so easy for us to coach people after the call. Well, that was a disaster. No, you're not. You're just beating them over the head.
Yeah.
Coach them before the call. Paint a picture as to what success looks like. Now, you're not putting yourself up on a pedestal, because freely, and I know John, he used to share stories of how he failed. Oh yeah, I went into that situation and I failed it miserably. But it allowed me to see him as, yes, a person who overcame significant challenges and problems and went on to become a great salesperson and ultimately a sales leader. That's cool. But it was not dictatorial. It was not driven by, oh, you didn't make enough dials, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. No, it was about the activities. And this is the key thing. We fail to realize that we get held accountable for the number of calls we make, the number of conversations we have. That's fine. Those are numbers. Okay, those are cool. And I know the CFO gets all wigged out on those, and that's what they want to see.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about what's going on in the call, because again, it's an emotional experience. And I want to back up the bus here a little bit, because one of the things that I find, in fact, I had this conversation today. Sales leader called me today. He said, Mark, I'm really struggling because the team is just not, they don't understand the value proposition. And I had to step him back and I say, well, yeah, they don't understand the value proposition because they're coming at it from different angles, because he's got different people. He's got account managers. He's got every level of salesperson reporting to him. I said, you've got to take the time. And this is so critical. If you're running a floor, every morning, articulate, what is the value proposition? What is the value proposition? What is the outcome we are looking to achieve? Before you go through, hey, this is the goal for the day. These are the numbers. This is what we want to do. What's the value proposition? And you've got to get people. And one of the exercises I love doing is I might be having a team huddle. Hey, team up with somebody right now. Share with them, what's the value proposition? Share with them. And how well do you articulate that? How well do you understand? Because again, it's kind of like, we say top performers, look at their goals every morning. Every morning I have a goal sheet. I look at it. Yeah, it's the same thing. Salespeople need to be looking at their value proposition. Because again, if I'm going to attack the phones, I better be very clear as to what is the ultimate outcome I want to get to. So, I mean, those are just a couple of little pieces.
Yeah.
And let me add one more piece. Every morning when you have that huddle, make sure you celebrate a success from the day before. Make sure you call out somebody. Call out somebody and say, hey, nice job on this. You crush on this. It's amazing how after a period of time, everybody wants to, hey, I hope he mentions me. I hope he mentions me. I hope he mentions me. Yeah, that's cool. And then I go in, let's talk about the value proposition. Let's talk, but make sure we start the day. And at the end of the day, you come back and you recap. Let people vent. Let people share. Because the most critical thing is I got to make sure people leave going home. End the day. They may be working from home, fine. Or they may be working on a call center, whatever. But I want to make sure at the end of the day, on a positive note, don't
Yeah.
leave them on a negative note, because otherwise they stew on it all night long and they bring it right back in again on Monday morning.
Yeah. There's so much that we can dig into there. I think one of the hardest things just about being a leader in general, I run these workout classes. It's like an outdoor thing, actually. It's a men's workout group. It's boot camp style, and it's like you take turns leading the group workouts. And I've been doing it long enough now to where like you have to really put some thought into like how you structure the workout to make it like fresh and new. And like these workouts are at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm not always feeling, you know how cold it gets in Seattle. I'm not feeling up to it energy wise, right? But you have to bring it. And I think that that's one of the hardest things as a leader is like you have to show up on a daily basis.
Oh,
As a rep, you can phone it in. Like you totally can phone it in when you're not leading people, and you can just like kind of hide and not bring a lot of energy. And you can't do that in a leadership position. So I think that like that showing up and the consistency around like the team huddle, don't do the same thing every time. Open up with I mean, you have books, so many of our peers have books, like a quote from one of these books, something like do something to make the job a little less mundane. And like that's what you can facilitate is like that energy and that enthusiasm. It's
I
tough.
yeah, I love what you're saying there, because your people will never bring more game to the game than you bring to the game.
100%.
Stop. Right, right. I mean, isn't that
Yeah.
amazing? I mean, if you need your team to be focused, they need to see you focused. Let me tell you, culture starts at the top. Culture starts
Mm.
at the top, and you've got to demonstrate and model the behavior that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And what I find so interesting, and we see this, is one of the very simple things. If you start that morning huddle late, guess what? Your people are going to be late.
Yeah.
It's there is something about a whole level of punctuality. I love this idea that you change things up. You're right. You bring spontaneity. You bring freshness. What does that do? It keeps energy in it, because when you're energized, it's amazing at how much better you listen, how much it
Yeah.
changes your tone. Because the sad comment is, frontline people can call it in, but boy, the
Yep.
results are going to show eventually. It's just not there.
Yep.
It's just not there,
Yep.
because all they're doing. I mean, how many times have you received that pathetic phone call from
Yeah.
that person who's just right
Yeah.
reading the script, going through the motions? And
Yeah.
then there's other times you're talking to somebody and they bring game, and it
Yeah.
changes the results dramatically. And stop and think
Yeah.
about that. When we're talking about changing the results, you think about it. How many calls are you making a day? How many conversations are you attempting to have? If I can just increase that by one or two, wow, that's
It's a
huge.
big
That's
difference.
huge. Because
Yep.
too many reps sit there. Well, if I get 3 conversations a day, I'm feeling really good, or 4 conversations a day. If I can
Mhm.
just increase that to 5, wow, I've increased it by 20, 25%. Pretty
Yep.
significant. Not bad. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I love this. My one of my old bosses, Spencer, used to say this thing, half-ass, quarter-ass, and it was this
Oh,
idea that you know, people are going to do half of what you do as a leader. So if you're half-assing something, they're going to do half of that. Hence the half-ass, quarter-ass kind of thing. It's like, yeah, you got to bring it, and it's that mental discipline of showing up. Um, I want to talk to you about. You mentioned uniformity. I really think of like the uniformity and standardization and like the how we talk about stuff. Really, a big part of your job as a leader is to bring that clarity to the rep. Um, and I think one of the most revealing things, I see this in the workshops we run all the time, is exactly what you mentioned earlier around, hey, let's practice sharing our value prop or our cold call opener or how we handle, how'd you get my phone number on a cold call? Like all of those things. Your job as a leader is like as an organization, you have to provide some like uniformity around how people like the best practice around this stuff. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
yeah, I love that, because here's something that I love doing is you let people train each other. There's something very magical if you're in a huddle and you're having people share their success stories. Wow, it's amazing how much we learn from that. People learn from each other. So I'm going to create uniformity. Hey, if we uncover this technique and it works good, hey guys, we're going to run with this. This is the process we're going to use this week. Let's see what kind of
Yep.
results we get off it. And you kind of gamify it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you gamify it. I mean, it's no different than a football game where a team may say, you know what, for this series is going to be a running series, or this series is going to
Mm.
be a passing series, or whatever it's going to be. But you kind of stay with that little level of consistency. One of the things that destroys teams is when you do chase the shiny object. And
Yeah.
it can feel good for a second, but boy, the results never work. So as a leader, you've got to make sure that you're allowing your people to share what's happening, what's doing. And then if there is you bring it back in. In other words, it's like you're going down a highway and there's guardrails on the side. And you got to keep people in the middle lane. You got to keep people in the middle lane. Don't and your team will respect you for this. They will respect you for this if you've earned the right. In other words, because they've seen how, well, you know what? He or she really led us through some dark days back here last quarter, last month, and it worked.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. But you got to stay in the game long enough. And again, this comes back to the other piece, consistency. Consistency at all levels. If you are as moody as can be as a leader, I love this half-ass, quarter-ass. I love that.
Yeah.
Because if you're moody as can be, your people are going to go south on you so quickly because they are going to pick up. Again, they emulate who you are. I've seen
Yep.
so many floors where it's a kick to be on the floor because the managers are just having fun. It's not like they're having fun not working. They're working, but they're just engaged. They are complimenting people. They're supporting
Yeah.
people. They're giving the people the recognition that they want, and they're not ripping on people on the floor. If you got to rip on somebody, you better take them off the floor. Take them away. Do it
Yeah.
one on one. But boy, I see too many. They get at the end of the quarter, they start getting desperate, right, and they
Yeah.
start ripping on people on the floor. Nothing is going to destroy an organization faster. Or it's we're all working from home, but yeah. So on the Teams call, you start ripping on somebody. No, say, hey, you know what? Hold on. Let's grab some time afterwards. Let's talk about
Yeah.
this.
So let's talk about a couple things that you just mentioned there I think are so important. Fun. This is like I noticed this, and I like to compare it to these group workouts because I remember I was running a group workout one time, and it was like, when you run these workouts, you want to come in and like these guys are in like good shape. Like I want to make it hard. And you can go overboard with something and make it so hard that people are not having a good time. It's like unnecessarily hard, and it's like I immediately picked up on that about 10 minutes in. I was like, shit, I have to change things up a bit because at the end of the day, this has to be fun for the guys.
Yeah.
And I think about that with our team now too. And I always thought about that as a leader. And one of the things, just due to my upbringing and my dad being a bit of a hard ass, he was a Marine or is a Marine, I guess. I don't think you're supposed to say was a Marine. But just a total hard ass about stuff sometimes. And it's like, oh, go, 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 go. And we're here to do work. But most people are not like that. Like, how do you think about like making the work environment more fun? It's like we can kick ass and have fun at the same time, kind of thing.
Yeah. First of all, everybody's level of kick ass is a different level. I mean, there's some
Yeah.
people who, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you got to understand that. That's the whole thing. You can't, I work with a person who just loves golf, golf, golf. Everything is golf, golf, golf. And golf to me is like, doesn't motivate me.
No, me neither. I
So,
hit a
I
golf
mean,
ball backwards one time, Mark.
yeah, I mean, I don't even own clubs. I used to say I own clubs. I don't even own clubs anymore. I gave them away.
Yeah.
And so this person can sit there and start talking about all these golf analogies, so forth, and I'm losing it. So you got to understand, and this comes back to understanding your people, what motivates
Mm.
someone. So when I talk about you're going to dial it up, and you're right, you're going to change it up. It isn't a golf analogy every day. One day it might be golf. One day it might be something else. One day it might be, something on Netflix. One day it might be, but
Yeah.
you've got to change it up to allow people to participate and allow
Can I
people. feel
Can I
ownership.
actually interject there real quick? Because I
Yeah.
think this is such an important point you made there. I would challenge any sales leader listening to this too to come up with analogies that women understand also.
Oh,
It's like
thank
you
you
could use
so
so
much.
many like military, and I'm guilty of this, like
Oh,
military analogies in sports. And like, I would challenge any leader to think about how you could come up with a makeup analogy or
yes.
something that a stereotypical woman might actually understand, or someone that's not into sports or military.
Yeah. Now, you know what's funny? This golf analogy comes from a female. It's
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, she is just addicted to golf,
yeah,
and it's great. I understand it, but I just don't. It just doesn't sink in. But it's funny. But
yeah,
I will mention something about football. Or right now, as we're recording this, we're in Major League Baseball playoffs, and she'll go
yeah,
like, oh, "What's that?" And who cares? See, again,
yeah.
right? But you are so spot on because it's so easy for us to get into macho talk, to get
Mhm.
into this manly stuff. And let me tell you something. I'm going to call it out right now. Women are better salespeople than men because they do
Yeah,
because they stay more focused and they listen
yeah,
better. They absolutely listen better, and they're driven to succeed. Um, and yeah, so wow, that just upset a few people listening to this. Man,
yeah. Well, I mean, there were a few studies that they did in software sales teams, and what they found is that the diverse teams,
yes,
diversity of race and gender, they tend to perform better. It's because you think about your buyer. Outside of certain industries, your buyers are all kinds of different people, and you just need to have different perspectives. And I think that's so important. Like even in leadership too. And this is something I think that is starting to get better, but hey, as a person of color, when you don't see people of color in leadership positions at your company, you kind of don't think that that's possible. If you're a woman and you don't see women in senior leadership positions, you kind of don't think that that's possible. So it's just important to think about as a leader.
there's so much truth to that, and it's interesting. It comes back to: are we on the seller's journey or the buyer's journey?
Yeah.
And I still think in sales, we're still too focused on the seller's journey. And we
Yep.
only get on the buyer's journey when we truly understand the buyer. But this means, okay,
Yep.
you as a sales leader, who's your buyer? It's your salespeople. It's your salespeople. So
Yep.
you better take the time to understand them. It was absolutely fascinating. Um, the sales leader who I absolutely admired, I earned a tremendous amount of respect for him because when I was working for him, my father was going through some serious health issues. And he demonstrated a real concern about how my dad was doing. It was not
Yeah.
unusual for him to ask me, "Hey, how's your dad doing?" And there was just something that just, he didn't have to ask me, but he did.
Yeah.
That was huge.
Yep.
That was absolutely huge. And that, because he connected with me personally,
Yep.
I gravitated towards him professionally.
Yeah.
And that again is one of those huge hallmarks. And it's kind of funny because there's so many times that he would share, and just to what you did, he'd share stories and analogies. And now that I look back, I go, you're right. They were of all different types, all different, all different. It wasn't. I mean,
Yep.
he played college football, but rarely did he ever share a college football story like, wow, when we were playing so and so. No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. Because
Yep.
this is no different than we want of our salespeople to connect with our customers, right? So we as a sales
100%.
leader
Yeah.
have to connect with our people. Because
Yep.
if we connect with our people will connect with their customers.
Yep. I'll give one more point on this and then we can keep going is for those of you that are working mostly virtual with your teams, the the candor I feel like and the real conversations happen outside of a structured Zoom call. So I noticed, for example, when I get there's this deal I'm working right now. The SVP of North American Sales, we got on a call. It was a phone call, and he was like revealing so much internally about just like he was spilling the tea, as the kids say. And that's not going to happen on a structured Zoom call. It's just not. I noticed that outside of the one-on-ones and that sort of stuff, it's the calling the rep up randomly in the middle of the day, asking him how that sales call just went. It's a little stuff like that where you can replicate a little bit of that water cooler talk or whatever they refer to it as in the office. that banter and that rapport, if you can find time to just in your day to touch base with people outside of structured meetings, I find that you're going to learn a lot more from people that way too.
I'm working with a team right now, and they're on Slack a lot. And some of the Slack conversations are just hilarious. They're
Yeah,
just
right.
absolutely hilarious because they're all over the country, and they're commenting on various calls and so forth. And it's absolutely a hoot to listen to. A strong leader will encourage their people to talk on calls without them.
Yeah.
A weak leader says, "Oh no, we can't have team calls without me." I
Yeah.
love the strong leader that says, "Hey, you guys, talk amongst yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves. You don't
Yep.
need me on all these." And again, that's a mark of leadership because at the end of the day, you as a leader, you can't monitor every call. You just can't. You can't monitor every action. All you can do is set the tone and the tempo and the culture for your
Yep.
people to engage themselves. And I, you know, I see so many companies they track. Well, what time do they log in? What time do they log out?
Yeah.
And we're monitoring it. We gotta, oh, they're logging out 15 minutes early. Well, guess what? You start calling people out on it, and guess what? They'll start playing games with you. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they'll be out. They just won't log out. I
Yeah.
mean, again, if I have to micromanage those types of actions, I probably have hired the wrong people. And why have I
Yep.
hired the wrong people? Because I'm probably the wrong manager.
Yeah.
It's amazing how we attract people who are like us. Wow,
Yeah.
that's scary, man.
Yeah. It's like looking in the mirror, dude. Um, let's shift gears and talk about coaching.
Yeah,
This is something I'm super passionate about. Like for me, the journey that our company has been on has been awesome to get back into having people on our team. For 3 or 4 years, I did solo consulting and we did really well. And we had worked with a lot of clients, but I was doing all of the marketing, all of the sales calls,
it's hard.
doing 15, 20, 30 hours a week of actual client delivery, most of it sitting in front of a computer, like we were talking about. Um, and what I really missed, Mark, was running a sales team. I really missed having a department. I really missed being able to, um, how awesome it is to have people on your team that like you can actually brainstorm ideas with, and like like you really value their input, and they're better at you in a lot of ways. And I really miss that. And my passion, I just love coaching people. Like that's what I love. Like it could be coaching sales reps, leaders, etc., or the people on our team. I love that. The reason why I think this is an important topic, though, is coaching. Oftentimes, I find for frontline managers, it's just something you kind of learn how to do through osmosis. You aren't really ever taught from anyone on like, hey, what's the best way to deliver feedback? Because you know what doesn't work that well? Hey, Mark, next time on your call, I need you to say this. Don't say that thing that you like saying. You need to say this. Like that doesn't work. And I think that that's a rude awakening for a lot of first time managers where they're like, oh shit, people don't just listen to me because I'm their boss, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so how do you think about maybe what was your journey actually in learning how to deliver coaching? And then we'll maybe dig into how you think about it and any frameworks that you have and that sort of thing.
Yeah. A great coach, first of all, does one-on-one coaching, and that's off the floor. That's away from that's not, again, if you're remote, that's great. It's easy. You're on a Teams call, you're on a Zoom call, whatever. It's fine. Two, you're coaching somebody. Say I'm coaching you, Jason. Jason, how's your day? How's your week been going? Talk to me about what you're seeing and how you're feeling. I always let the coachee, or I should say the
Yeah.
coach. Yeah, I guess be the coachee. Let the coachee
Yeah.
speak first. Let them share. Let them share.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, what I want to do is when I'm coaching somebody, I want to coach them up to where they can begin coaching themselves 24/7.
100%.
Because
Yep.
I want them to really inspect. Okay, so talk to me about a few of your calls that you feel went well. What was it that made you feel they went well? And then you literally let them begin to share with you their feedback. And then the good one's going to sit there and say, yeah, I got here, but help me. What do you think I should have done differently? You know what's interesting? Now, when they ask you and what you share with them, they're going to receive that content a whole lot better than if you just
Yeah.
say, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. So I let the coachee kind of drive the coaching session. Now, there are still very specific things that I want to coach them on. Don't try to coach on 5 and 6 things at one time. No, one
Yeah.
item, one
Yeah.
item. And what you're going to do, hey, here's something that I've seen. It's great that you brought those up and so forth, and great. I feel like you're making good progress here and so forth. There's one item here that I've noticed, and I'd really like to get your feedback on it. And you pose it to them. You let them respond. You let them respond, because this is going to tell you how they're feeling. And then
Yep.
you begin to coach them through it. And you coach them through using very specific examples. Now, again, if you're coaching some bad behavior, hey, I did go back and I audited a few of your calls. And on this particular call, I noticed something. And in other words, you get very specific. Don't talk in generalities, because when you talk in generalities, it begins to feel like this becomes this emotional game going back and forth. It's a ping pong game. I want to be very specific. Now, they may say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I know that. I remember that call. That was bad. I don't feel like I'm doing. Okay, great, terrific, great. Let's just dissect that call. Why don't we take a couple minutes and listen to the call? And you literally listen to the call together, and you let them critique it. Again, I want to create an environment where I'm self-coaching. The ultimate objective is this. I'm going to come away from this coaching session praising you. I'm going to use kind of the Oreo technique. Praise, then, the filling is where you coach them on something and then you praise.
Yeah.
At the end of the call, I'm going to say, okay, these are the pieces that I want you to work on. And be very specific. Be very, very specific. And then make sure you end it with a praise. Because again, hey, you're doing these other pieces just absolutely terrific. When you do the next coaching session, you've got to pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
If you don't pick up where you left off, they begin to read through that and say, well, this was just Baskin Robbins flavor of the month.
Yep.
And nothing to stick. But I don't come back to that and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about the results that you feel you're getting based on what we talked about on the last call. But before we do that, talk to me about what you see happening. In other words, still, you let them talk first. Yeah.
Yes. Dude, so much here. Have you read The Coaching Habit?
Yes.
Such a good book. Oh, I recommend everyone reads that book. The first thing that he talks about is this, like, essentially what you're doing there is you're making sure that the person feels like this is their call, because it is. This is the rep's call. Like, they should come into this call feeling ownership around what we're going to talk about and what they're going to get from it, and they're wanting that feedback and coaching. But the first thing that he recommends, and I'm forgetting the author's name, in that book, is the question of what's on your mind. I really like that question. Right. And people will just start talking, and it's a good way for you to connect for a second and attune, so to speak, emotionally with like where they're at. Because sometimes it's like, dude, if you come in guns blazing with this feedback, and this person's just come off the hardest sales call of their life and it didn't go well, and you're not able to just meet them where they're at real quick, it's like that lack of attunement is like, it doesn't bring the relationship closer. So I love that buy-in piece where you're going to get them talking about it. The focus thing is really interesting too, the one thing. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because the prioritization is really big, and I think reducing overwhelm. It's the clarity thing that we talked about earlier. Like reducing overwhelm for like they shouldn't come out of the meeting, Mark, and be like, "Fuck, I got 10 things to work on."
Yeah. This is the problem, because if you give them 10 things to work on, they're not going to work on any one thing, because they're not going to be sure. In other words, I want them to succeed. I want them to find success. If I'm going to coach you on this one thing, and I'm going to give them a very specific metric in terms of, hey, here's what we're looking for. Here's the outcome that we're looking for. And then you come back on the next coaching session and they report out, okay, great. See, here's the whole thing. This is the difference between coaches and managers. Managers manage for the event. They manage for the event. Yeah.
Yep.
Coaches will use the event, but you're shaping behavior long term. And that's a big difference there. And coaches, you've got to adopt this mindset that what you are doing is you are impacting long-term behavior. Because if all you
Yeah.
do is beat them up on what happened today, and then now I can use what happened today as an example. Fine, I can use that.
Yeah.
But that's a coaching moment to change behavior long term.
Mm.
And that is a mindset that you as a coach have to have, because otherwise you are going to wind up creating people, like you said, they're not going to want to come into the coaching session. They're going to find
Yeah.
every way to, oh no, here I go. I'm going to get my head
Yeah.
handed to you. But you want them coming in feeling good. You want them to come in feeling like, you know what? This is going to benefit me because I'm going to come out of
Yeah.
this call stronger and better because I know my coach is on my side. He's going to
Yeah.
help me. He's going to work with me.
I love that. And then what you mentioned about getting really specific with the examples, it also just shows that you're paying attention when you can get really specific. How do you recommend people handle folks that might take coaching, the feedback too personally sometimes, or maybe removing the personal nature from the feedback so it doesn't? Some people get a little. Some people, to backtrack, I think some people are better at receiving feedback than others. How do you handle the person that might take something that you say personally, too personally?
This comes back to you needing to know personally how you motivate each person, what
Yeah.
trips their trigger. You're right, because some people are. I mean, I've got a couple kids, and believe me, they behave
Yeah.
totally differently. And I got to understand that one, I can be blunt, and the other one, if I just raise my voice, it's, and again, so again,
Yeah.
and don't condemn them for this. This is their DNA.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. And again, go back to the diversity of the sales organization, diversity of
Mhm.
customers. I want this broad scope. I want this broad reach. You have to come to them. Whoa, there's a shocking thing. You have to come to them. Now, okay, if they are the crazy aunt or the weird uncle, then you just
Yeah.
need to terminate them. See, now we're getting very family here. But
Yeah.
in other words, I mean, if their behavior is so outlandish, they're okay, then fine. I unfortunately can't have them on the team. But by and large, there are people. You're right. There are people who I know when I had a direct sales force reporting to me, there are very distinct people who I literally before coaching session, I had to send them the full agenda. Hey, here are the things we're going to talk about, because
Yeah.
they would come in so stressed out. And there are
Yeah.
others that would come in and they'd this is back in the days when we were all in the office, and they'd kick back, put their feet up on my desk, and start eating my M&Ms and saying, "Okay, let's go."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, thanks for
Yeah.
eating my candy, please. I mean, this comes back to, you have to understand your people, and this comes back
Yeah.
to also coaching in terms of the time of day. This is a key. This is something that people miss out on. There are some people that are better coached in the morning, and there are some people that are better
Mm.
coached in the afternoon. You got
Yeah.
to know, when are your people's peak listening and responsive times. Because
Yes. Yeah.
I had some people who you know what, if I were to try to coach them at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it was eyes glassed over. Now, it wasn't that they wouldn't be working if I wasn't coaching them, but it just wasn't receptive. And I needed to coach them first thing in the morning. There are others that, first thing in the morning, it would, it was just best to do it mid-afternoon. No.
Yeah.
And same thing with the day of the week. Same thing. I mean, if I'm going to have a difficult coaching session, don't do it on a Friday. Do not do it on a Friday. Because then what happens is that person could go home feeling, I'm going to get fired. I don't want anybody leaving Friday, ending the day on Friday, thinking their job is at risk.
Yeah.
Unless you truly are going to terminate them on Monday. So anyway, but that's a separate piece.
Yeah. One last thing I want to dig into, and I don't want to overlook, is this idea of connecting the dots. Like, that was such an important thing. My first job as a sales manager was when I was 19, I was working for a company in college, a house painting company. They hire college students, teach them how to run painting business, all that kind of stuff. The thing that I learned as a manager, I thought that was really good. And this is, I just had a clipboard where I would write my notes, and doing one-on-ones. And I would always write down the one thing that we were working on from a skill development standpoint. We talk about it in the one-on-one, give some coaching. We did these like drop-in calls on Thursdays. I would make sure to bring it up then. If I was out in the field doing estimates with them, I knew that, okay, this person's working on building rapport. This is something that they struggle with. Let me pay attention to that. We're going to talk about it before we hop into that sales appointment. I'm going to give them feedback on it afterwards. It's like the dots are being connected across the meetings. Yeah. And my VP of sales at that time, Dan, he would always say, to hit a home run, you gotta really be deliberate about something for 4 weeks. You don't want to be hitting singles in this area. Like, you got to be really deliberate. Like, it's not going to become a habit for 2, 3, 4 weeks. Any last thoughts on the connecting the dots piece? Like, I thought that was really important that you mentioned there around things have to be connected. You can't just bring it up one time and not talk about it again.
So much truth to that, because if you do bring it up once and never talk about it again, you are just flavor of the month. Yep. And people will begin to blow you off. When people hear you talking about this and you're communicating this, and the thing you might be talking about is saying, our calls that we're making between 2 and 5 every afternoon is just not where it should be. So you make that an emphasis. And you don't just say it once and let go. You come back and you measure it. Inspect what you expect. This is so key. Yeah. Inspect what you expect. Too many managers, and this is the difference between a manager and a leader, they will throw something out there. And for some reason, they think just because they said it once, everybody gets it.
Yep.
This is, I get to work with a lot of CEOs. And I tell CEOs this, I go, hold it. Just because you say this once, your people don't think, act, and talk the same way you do. So by the time this gets 5, 6 levels down, you talk about half-ass, quarter-ass. This is half-ass, no-ass. Bottom. Yeah. And so you have to reinforce, because otherwise it doesn't happen. And again, call out. There's nothing wrong with calling out numbers. Absolutely nothing worth. I'll never forget. Really quick. I'll never forget. Years ago, in fact, I'll go ahead and say the name: Dove bars, Dove ice cream bars. Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah.
And I was in the Dove bar factory in Chicago, Burr Ridge, Illinois. I don't even know if it's still there. Anyway, and at 4:00 in the afternoon, they began hitting this buzzer. Boom, 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 boom. And it was amazing. I was like, and people are like chanting, cheering, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And what that was those were full production loads that they got out that day, because they were working as a team, as a production line, how many loads they could get out. And so somebody every afternoon got to push the buzzer, and they were counting 1, 2, 3, 4, but they made it focused, and it was fun. And the guy told me, he said, you wouldn't believe, I mean, these are people who have been in the plant for 20, 30 years. They're union people, and they're fighting over who gets to hit the buzzer. And he says productivity has gone through the roof. Yeah, that's cool. You've got to come back, and you just got to stay in the game.
Yep. Keep things fresh. Like, I think another big theme from our conversation today is you have to know the people that work for you. You have to take the time to get to know them on a semi-personal level. You don't need to know what they talk to their therapist about. Okay. But like, you need to know important things that are going on in their life and what motivates them.
Two things I want to add to that. One, know what their personal motivators are. In other words, what drives them, where are their interests outside of work? Yep. And 2, who are the key people in their lives? Who are the key people? Is it a spouse? Is it a significant other? Is it a friend? Is whatever. But if you can understand who those are, it is amazing at how you're going to understand, because then you can begin asking them. I mean, you may be with somebody who is really into fly fishing. And if you talk to them about fly fishing, or maybe they're into reading books, or maybe they're into binging on Netflix, I don't know what it is, but when you know what personally sucks up their time outside of work, and 2, who their key people are in their lives, it's amazing, because that's also going to help tell you what their goals are in life. You're very quickly going
100%.
to understand. And I'll tell you what, if you can help people get to share with you, I mean, if you can get people to share with you what their personal goals are in life. I was on a call this morning with a team, about 45 people from around the world. And one of the people, because we start off the call every morning, I mean, it's a once a week call. And this person said that they had finally graduated. They finally graduated. And everybody went nuts. And the manager on the call was just like ecstatic. Said, I know you've been working on that for years. You finally got your undergraduate degree. Congratulations. Because that had been a goal. And everybody celebrated. And this organization, about 45 people around the world. And it's incredible. The low turnover, the level of productivity, the results that they achieve, just the support for one another. Because the manager, the two managers on the call, literally have created a culture of leading this organization to achieve unbelievable things with their customers.
Yeah. I think that's a good spot to end it. Where can people go to connect with you? You have 3, 4, 5 books out at this point. All are great reads. I suggest people pick up, but where can people go to connect with you, get more of your stuff?
Yeah, the best place is just go out to thesaleshunter.com. Yes, that was my original name. We've had this story. I did not change my name.
How much is that domain worth now? I mean, like thesaleshunter.com. I mean, that's
Oh, you want to
that
buy
is
it
the
from
most.
me? Hey, I could, yeah. I mean, thesaleshunter.com. You're right. It is a great name. I owe it to my parents. That's the best place. Of course, I'm all over LinkedIn all the time. Got the YouTube channel. I got the books, High Profit Prospecting, A Mind for Sales, and a new book coming out. Can't quite reveal the title. I'll be able to reveal the title in probably 2 weeks. So
Sweet. Well, let's get you back on when it's time to promote the book.
yeah, got it. Always great.